Maruchan superfans are everywhere. From the busy moms who want to deliver maximum flavor in a flash to dorm room diners who want to put some slurp in their step. There are a ton of copycats you could use, but if you want to bless your bowl, there's only one true Maruchan. Whether you choose instant lunch, ramen bowls, yakisoba, or restaurant quality gold, Maruchan is the only ramen worth obsessing over. Smiles for all. Maruchan. See what all the ramen hype is about at maruchan.com.
Brooks Running has a new shoe for you runners out there. Did you hear that? Better turn up your volume. In fact, turn it up to the max. Introducing the all-new Ghost Max. It's got all kinds of things to make your knees and ankles feel protected, like Max Cushion, Max Soft Landings with DNA Loft V2 foam, and Max Smooth Rides with their Glide Roll Rocker. Feel better on your run with Ghost Max. Learn more at brooksrunning.com.
I was always a party girl, always the drunkest in the room at every event, social event I've ever been to. So I'd been doing that for many, many years. And my really, the awkward moment that told me enough was enough was the morning after that. It was 4 years of me struggling and questioning my drinking after having a child. So really, I became sober curious after my first child. And then I tried to combine the two lives of motherhood and alcohol, the release, my reward at the end of a hard day. And it all culminated in me having really bad anxiety every time I drank. But I still continued to try and moderate, and I failed miserably at that and always ended up every night out with my head in a toilet. So I woke up one morning after feeling anxiety every Sunday for about 4 years, and I knew I'd had enough. That really was a moment where I had kind of a realization lying in bed that I can't do this anymore. I'm hurting the people I love. And most of all, I'm hurting myself on a weekly basis. And I felt that it was damaging my mental equilibrium. I was struggling mentally every Sunday. And I lied in bed that morning and started to ask myself really serious questions like, what are you doing? Like, why are you continuing this really negative behavior to yourself? And I remember lying there just thinking, why am I doing this? And who have I become? This isn't the person I'm supposed to be. This isn't the mother I'm supposed to be. And I remember lying in bed like I did every Sunday and just thinking, gosh, this has got to change. And I walked into the lounge after feeling the moment of awkwardness and plodded out there in my dressing gown, probably smelling a little bit like vomit because I think I had regurgitated a yummy kebab from the Abracababra takeaway.
Oh, lovely. Very sexy.
Yeah, sexy look. And yeah, I remember saying to my husband, look, I'm struggling. I can't do this anymore. This drinking thing isn't working for me. Binge drinking has had its day. And I've realised over those 4 years that I couldn't stop my own behaviour myself. I was drinking myself to oblivion every time I went out, and I wasn't solving any of my own problems. So that's when I said to my husband, I think I need to reach out for professional help. And I know, Lucy, your story is a little bit different to mine. Like I had a real moment where I said, right, this has got to change. And it was a real sort of light, a light bulb moment for me. That a lot of things had led up to that moment. But for you, I know it was a little bit different. Can you tell us all about that?
Yeah, well, I'm almost a little bit jealous of your awkward moment.
And of my good looks.
Yeah, and the vomit smell.
Oh yeah, sorry,
as well. That's
gone.
I am definitely jealous of. No, but I can imagine having that specific awkward moment when you question your alcohol and decide to make that change, being so clear and having so much clarity about what that was for you, which was that morning when you walked out into your living room and spoke to your husband about it, as something that you can hold on to and look back on over the period of struggling to become sober. And that gives you strength to keep moving forward because you've got that to hold on to. I look back over my drinking career.
Yeah.
Probably not the right word for it. And I would say I've had a heap of awkward moments. Of course I have, where I've thought, oh my God, I can't remember what I did last night, but I know it was awful and I shouldn't have done it. That should have been my awkward moment. There was hundreds of them. hundreds, if not thousands, really, over 25 years of drinking really heavily. But I can't pinpoint the exact one that made me really think, I've got to stop doing this. Maybe it was just happening every time and it had become a pattern where I would just wake up and think, I really need to stop doing this. I got to the point where I didn't feel I could give up, and I had resigned myself to carry on drinking. I'd tried a number of different things to help me give up. I'd read the books. I tried AA. I'd moved from England to Australia, hoping that would curb the drinking, but it didn't.
It's just one pub to another, isn't it?
Well, it really is. And
yeah.
I mean, the drinking culture in Australia is different to the drinking culture in England, but it's just the same at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Drinking is normal and it's almost expected. So for me, there were lots of rock bottoms, lots of really uncomfortable questions. But instead of dealing with them, I avoided them and I created a world around myself which allowed me to drink. And to do that, I did things such as I always hung out with people who drank as much as me, if not more. And I just sort of padded out my life with drinking paraphernalia that allowed me to carry on doing what I was doing. And it was a circle of drinking and self-loathing. So yeah. I didn't get that particular awkward moment. There were so many of them, they just merged into one hideous sort of 15 years of trying to give up drinking.
Yeah. It's funny how, as you say, we surround ourselves with people who are doing the same thing. So therefore, if you're not an extreme drinker, I think like me and Lucy, I mean, we were big drinkers. We were party girls, binge drinkers that always had an excuse to be cracking open the wine. But because we weren't so far down the track that we were passed out in a gutter somewhere, it's hard to reach out for help, or it's hard to recognise even that you have a problem. For you surrounded yourself with people that drank. I did too. And I know that I created my drinking environment. So even if there was a pile of mud on the ground, I could bring a bottle of whiskey and some fairy lights and I'd be right, let's party. And it took me a long time to realise that I was the one creating that environment. I was the one creating the culture, because we could spend all our lives blaming all these other things, couldn't we? But it's actually us at the end of the day that's reaching out for the bottle, reaching out for the fairy lights and putting them together to make a party. And I managed to do that wherever I was, whether I was travelling, whether I was on a mother's group night out, or whether I was at the pub with mates. And that's a really interesting thing about normalising alcohol within society, is that it makes it easy. And if you don't go along with the norm, that's when you stick out like a sore thumb, like we do now, because we're the ones that have chosen to take this healthier path. It's really a fascinating topic, that, about creating our own environments.
Oh, it really is. And when you were talking then, Vicky, I was thinking about how sometimes you go out with people and you think, oh, whenever I go out with this person, I end up getting so drunk. And you're just blaming somebody else. Yeah. And that person, however much they drank, they weren't forcing vodka down your throat. Yeah. But you choose to hang out with them because it normalizes your own behavior. So I totally agree with what you're saying there, Vic. But what I think is really interesting is that we've both talked about what our awkward moments were when we started questioning our drinking, and yours and mine are just so different. So for anybody listening who's thinking, what will my awkward moment be? Have I maybe had my awkward moment? Yeah. Don't think that it's got to fit into a certain box. We're all unique. We're all so different. We all have different drinking habits and different lives. So I think when you become sober, you do look back and think, where was that point at which I started questioning my drinking? And you can see it with more clarity when you have moved forward on your sober journey. So just to point out to anybody listening that awkward moment can be any number of different things. And we've just pointed out ours.